Welcome back to the closing table. We're here. We're live. We are presented by New Leaf Home Inspections. They are North Carolina's #1 home inspector. Pull up a chair. It's the closing table. Ben, welcome. Good to see you again, brother. You ready to get after it?
Hey. Yes, sir, Doug. Always. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
All right. Well, let's start with something new. Today's topic is the sudden return of big world news. Holy cow. Now, we've talked about staying away from the news. You can't avoid the news over the last week. It seems like every hour something is breaking. So tell me what's going on in your mind. We've got a lot of geopolitical flashpoints happening. We got stuff talking about the markets. We're going to talk about rates a little bit later. There's always headlines, but man, the headlines lately are huge. There's stuff going on everywhere. What do you think about what's happening?
Well, I'm more of a America First type person, right? Like I care about America in our best interest. I live here. I'm a citizen. My son is raised here. That's my thing. And for me, the world stage, I often feel like America as a country historically has input theirself into world views and affairs far too often. I do think, though, with what's happening right now, I think a lot of it's about stabilization in our hemisphere. When we talk about Greenland, we spoke on that last episode. When we talk about Venezuela, things like that, we need to take care of our backyard as well. Make sure the bad actors are not posing threats to our country. So I'm kind of one of those people that, I love what I'm seeing with fuel coming down. I knew it was a matter of time. They had to get rid of the oil they'd already paid an inordinate amount of money for. And now they're starting to be able to sell off some of the oil that's come in that was purchased at a cheaper price, then in turn passing it on to us consumers. So as far as world news goes, I really like my own country focusing on what we're doing here in America. But I also do appreciate some of the moves we're making in our hemisphere to ensure that our neighbors are being good citizens as well and being good neighbors. So what about you, Doug? What are your thoughts?
Man, it's just hard to keep up with, from congressional hearings to all the stuff happening internationally. You've got troops moving all over the place. People wondering what's going on. You've got protests in Iran. Of course, there are protests here. There's always protests here. It sounds like, we could talk ad nauseum about that stuff. There's just a lot going on right now. It's interesting if you like to follow the news. Some people might think it's a little bit worrisome. I think some good things are happening and some other stuff we just have to kind of wait and see. But if you enjoy this stuff, it's definitely entertaining right now. If nothing else, it's entertaining. For sure.
Well, I'm sure hoping that as far as the Iran situation goes, that we will do something to assist those people. Again, America first, but at the same token, Iran's been a bad player for a long time on the world stage. So I hope that whatever happens swiftly and quickly, because you can see the people of Iran definitely want change. I also know some folks from Venezuela that live here currently and have family that are in Venezuela. And I ignored the news on a lot of their hypotheticals and their theories. I talked to these people personally. They are elated that Maduro is no longer in power. They are absolutely over the moon. The Venezuelan people are celebrating, and I hope we don't get that lost in translation through the spin cycle of the fake news media in our own country.
Well, speaking of Iran, it's one of my favorite 80s songs by Flock of Seagulls, I Ran So Far Away. So let's move to the next topic. Number 2, you're approved. How do you like that transition? Dry January, smart reset, or just a gimmick?
Well, Doug, I'm going to have to deny and decline your outro to something new there, okay? I don't approve that yet, but no, I'm kidding. Dry January, I don't drink, so I really don't care, right? I've got some friends of mine that like to have some adult beverages, and they do dry January, but as soon as dry January is over, they take right back off into orbit. So, I think it's a great thing if people are looking for a break from some of that stuff. I invite people that are enjoying their break from the alcohol with dry January to maybe see how they like it past January. I know I love it. I used to drink, and there's good reasons why I don't. And, I just encourage folks to give it a whirl. I will tell you this. I had a real nasty habit of sometimes smoking cigarettes every once in a while. I proudly have been dry for those for 3.5 months. So technically, I get to participate in dry January. My dry January was just tobacco products.
I think that's great, Ben. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I don't think dry January necessarily has to apply to alcohol. I think it could apply to maybe any vice. Maybe it could apply to fast food if that's your vice. Who knows what it could apply to? I think any of those things could be good. Maybe it could be not watching the news. It certainly is going to apply to not watching the Panthers the rest of the month, unfortunately, which we'll get to later. I think that I think everything in moderation is good. I don't participate in it. But one thing I have tried to do is to restrict my drinking to the weekends, so like dry weekdays, So I'm more focused during the week, and I can focus on things like that. So I think moderation is good. But heck, if you need a reset and you want to reset, I know and have had friends who have done it for years. I think it's great for them. Do your thing, right?
Let's go.
All right, let's move on. We're hunting today. Experience or outpacing things. So people are tired of buying stuff. We're coming out of the holidays. We live in such a consumerism economy, and not there's anything wrong with that. I'm all pro capitalism and everything, but I think people are tired of stuff. Working in our industry, we know how tired of stuff people are when it's time to move, right? Because you never realize how much crap you've accumulated until you have to box it all up and ship it to another house. What experiences are you trying to prioritize in 2026 now? I got the year right, over things.
For me, I like taking trips with my son. So I definitely want to plan a trip to New York City. And Wilmington now, they have direct flights out of ILM Airport. It's like an hour and 15 minutes and you're there. We went last February and had a blast. We went to a game at Madison Square Garden, basketball game. We stayed in a wonderful hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Lovely getaway. So something like that, planning a few excursions with Luke. Now that football season's over, I can't travel to Charlotte to go watch my beloved Carolina Panthers play. I say end of football season, end of our football season, but we'll get to more of that later. We've discussed this a couple episodes back, Doug. I think it's more about memories and experience. I had a guy that I worked with. He was in Ohio. He was actually my boss at the time. And I felt bad because I felt like I was on the phone all the time in the evenings and weekends, and my son wanted my attention. And I said, hey, how do I get out of this? Like, I feel bad. I feel like I'm neglecting him almost as far as the attention that he desires. He said, here's what you got to do. At least once a month, plan a trip. Plan a trip with him, and you go do that. Those will create the memories. He's not going to remember the time that you were busy working to help earn a living for your family and couldn't react to something he needed immediately. But he will remember the trips that you took, the memories that you create in those environments. And when you go on those trips, shut it down for a couple of days. So that's the kind of stuff I still carry with me today. And those are the memories I try to make with my son.
Yeah, I still remember, taking trips to Atlanta to see my cousins and go to Braves games when I was young with my family, and going to Disney World with my grandparents in their RV, Cooperstown in the RV. Those things really stand out and stay with you forever and ever. And we're trying to do the same thing. We took the boys to New York last year to see Oasis, but we also went and saw the World Trade Center Memorial, which is beautiful if you've never been there, really sobering. Go to the top of the Empire State Building and see the views. We went up to the top of the Statue of Liberty, really cool, just to walk down Fifth Avenue, go to Central Park, to the zoo and all that. Make those memories. They say that memories are really the new luxury good. So focus on stacking those up, you know what I mean, instead of your purses. I know you love purses. All right, moving on. It's time to lock it in.
I need you to give me something to put in the purse, though, Doug. You got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll work on that next. That's what the show's for. We're going to be loading up the coffers soon.
There we go.
Excuse me. Anyways, let's move on to lock it in. Number 4. Okay, we've been talking about the college football playoffs forever. We're finally at the final. This week, we've got Indiana and Miami. First of all, who's the favorite? Who's the underdog? Who's the pedigree here?
So right now, Indiana's favored by 7.5. They're playing in Miami. It's basically a home game for Miami, other than ticket allotment, right? The CFP is going to make sure Indiana fans have their fair shake at getting a big amount of tickets. Indiana travels really well too. The Hoosiers are just crazy for their sports teams, and I can relate to that. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Right across the bridge is Indiana, so we know all about the Hoosiers over there. And some of my friends and family are also Hoosier fans, so shout out to them. Being a 7.5 point favorite, I'll tell you this. even though that's a lot of points, Indiana has looked and is the most complete team in college football on all three sides of the ball. Special teams, defense, offense. They have got the discipline, they've got the character, and they've got the moxie. These guys are incredible. Now, on the other side of the football, Miami, those guys can play. They can play. They're going to hit you. They're fast. They have a great defense. I just don't think that their offense is going to be able to hang with Indiana's defense for the entire 4 quarters. I think they're going to make some big plays, things like that. But Indiana is just loaded, and they're so well coached. That team has some of the best discipline that's been instilled in them that I've seen in college football in a long time. They kind of remind me of a Nick Saban Alabama, right? As far as the way that they perform, the way they do things. So I think Indiana is going to win big. I love the fact that ACC schools in there. Sorry, Notre Dame's not in there, Doug. I hate that, but but anyway, no, I'm kidding. Anyway, but no, I think I'm rooting for the ACC, but at the same time, it's hard to root against the Indiana Hoosiers. They're great kids. Every time they get on camera, they give all the glory to God. They're humble. They it seemed like a really, really great group of well-rounded young men.
Well, Indiana has just been beating everybody's ass. I mean, just dominating people. So it's hard not to see them as favorites. I think 7 is probably a little too low at this point. You might want to put some scratch on that. I don't know. It is nice to see the ACC in there if you consider Miami ACC, even though they've been in the conference for 20 years or whatever. I think Indiana is probably going to win the game. I'm not that worried about it being a home game for Miami because their fans aren't great. They don't even show up during the regular season. I'm sure the people with money will show up for the finals. Indiana, I read this week about their fans. They have the largest undergraduate alumni base in the country currently. So probably not surprising that they travel well. I think it was like 850,000 living undergraduate alumni. So pretty impressive, and you can understand why they travel so well. I'm going to lock in Indiana, but I am really looking forward to the game. My kids were talking about it this week. Indiana's probably got about another year like this, and then everybody starts hating them like they hated Alabama. So we'll see what happens. But, enjoy the ride. I think Cignetti is hilarious and fun. I think he's like kind of an idiot genius, maybe for lack of a better term, but he's definitely got them dialed in right now. And in the age of NIL where we are, even though, his guys are all old and they take a lot of crap for having 24-year-olds or having the oldest team, everybody's playing with the same rules now. So how are you going to fault him for just being better at them than you are? So I'm excited to see him play and looking forward to it. Let's move on to the next step is due diligence. Hey, we poked under 6% last week for mortgage rates. We poked back above it, so we're kind of hovering right around that 6% mark. But this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've been looking forward to. What do you think is going to happen this week and going forward the rest of the month?
I mean, it really is hard to say. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be a billionaire. And I've used that line a million times, but it's so true. I believe 2026 is going to be a very nice year for mortgage interest rates. I think you're going to see a lot of folks who have been sitting on the fence, kind of on the sidelines, ready to refinance. Now will be their time to jump into the game and be able to refinance to get somewhere in the mid fives. I'm expecting mid to low fives by the end of the year. That's just me. Again, and I'm a licensed loan originator, been doing this 20 years. So I am licensed, so I can speak to interest rates. People need to be careful when they talk a lot about interest rates and they're not licensed. That can get you in a little bit of hot water. But no, I keep up with them every day, and I'm really grateful that we're seeing the break. I mean, 6 months ago, Doug, let's say this, 9 months ago, if we were having the same interest rate conversation that we are today, talking about the low sixes, high fives, you would have been at 7.5 to 7.625, and that's just the way it was. So it's really a nice reprieve. It's a nice break in the home ownership world. And I think people are going to start really coming back into the market now that they're seeing rates get back down at a way more comfortable level than where they have been.
Well, from the real estate standpoint, I've got a handful of listings, and listings have really been languishing lately, even priced right. I had a good uptick of activity the first 2 weeks of the year. Got a house under contract that had been sitting there Two other listings that I've had have gotten more interest lately than I've had in the previous couple of months. So I think that's a good sign when you see things like that starting to happen. Those are the kind of the indicators that we look for, that things are moving in the right direction. And of course, the Fed's going to meet again here in another week or so, and we'll see if they do anything. I think they'll probably hold tight this month just because of some other things that are happening. But we'll see what's going on with that.
Doug, not to cut you off, but by the way, it's absolutely irresponsible for them not to be cutting rates more aggressively. Inflation is way down. All the numbers that come out, every economic number that we see that has been presented warrant rate cuts. So shame on the Fed for not doing it. I'll be very glad and excited when we get a new Fed chair. And I promise you, when that happens, you're going to see rates tumble.
Yeah, I don't think that can happen soon enough, right? We're all looking forward to that, especially us around the industry who pay attention to it all the time.
Right.
Well, hey, if nothing else on this show, we love to have fun, but we also love to gripe. So this week in Fix This, man, it is impossible to pick up the phone and call customer service and actually talk to somebody. How much fun is that?
You know, the worst part about it is it's not, when you do finally, after 45 minutes on hold, get to talk to somebody, I get somebody on the phone I can't understand. You know, and no offense to anybody, but companies, stop outsourcing English-speaking phone calls to India and these places around the globe that don't speak fluent English. So it's irritating enough you make me wait 45 minutes on hold, press 0 30,000 times to get an operator. And then when I get an operator, I can't understand them and they don't understand me. And problem never gets resolved. So there's got to be a fix to this. If anything, let's set up some call centers here in sunny old America and have folks that can speak English with us to help us through our issues. It would. I mean, I don't know what's so hard about that. I just don't.
Well, you know, I'm sure the root of all of it is just, you know, saving costs, right? They can pay people somewhere else a lot less than they can pay someone here. And that's unfortunate that companies based here don't want to have a workforce here, you know, that they care more about the bottom line than they do about taking care of their customers. And that's ultimately what it is. Let's not lie. It's not like they're dropping their costs because they're outsourcing, you know, employment. And half the time after you talk to the bot and answer their questions, when you finally do get to a person, you have to answer the same questions anyways, right? So it's just such a runaround and so frustrating. It's the opposite. It's the antithesis of customer service. Bring back customer service, man. I mean, we're in a world now, and, you know, I'm almost 50, I guess. I'm in my upper 40s. You're still a young buck, but it's a surprise now when you get good customer service. Am I right? It's like it surprises you because you just don't expect it anymore. And that's at the grocery store. And that's if you even use the cashier. Most of the time you're checking yourself out, or, you know, anywhere that you go. You're surprised when you get good customer service. It's an outlier. It's not the rule.
Customer service these days, it's almost like people are doing you a favor by serving you. By you spending money with their establishment, they're acting like they're doing you a favor in a lot of cases. So to your point, when I get great customer service, I make it a personal point to acknowledge it. I want those people to know how much it is still appreciated. Old school kindness, old school empathy, willingness, and gratitude that you're there supporting the business that they work for so they can have a job. We need to get back to old school common sense as it pertains to customer service, because customer service certainly has slipped by the wayside.
Love it. And I try to provide a good customer service. I know you do too. Let's keep this train on the track. What's next? We've got counteroffer. Is loyalty in sports dead? Now, I know when it comes to Ben Hawkins, it's not, but let's talk about that on a more general scale. General fan bases. Before we talk about athletes, let's talk about fan bases. What do you think? As
a fan, you know, part of me, as far as attendance at games, let's put it that way. It's like the Panthers. They played last Saturday. They fought valiantly, should have won the game. They didn't, but they should have won the game. They were right there. That place was packed. 75,000 people packed that stadium. When you go to regular season games, you don't see that many. But the product at times has been awful. in the last 4 or 5 years. More times than not, it has been awful. So I can't blame people, right? So I don't want to hear about fair weather fans. Give people something of value to come root for and watch instead of them coming, spending a ton of money to go to NFL games and then getting their tail kicked all over the place. Like, nobody wants to go through that. So if you have the right product, it's marketed appropriately, people are putting effort into the field or the court, whatever you're playing, whatever sport, people will show up and support you. As far as money ruining sports, I mean, look at college basketball. It is a disaster. My Louisville Cardinals last night got beat by Virginia. We haven't had our star freshman point guard play in the last 6 games. The report is he has a bad back, but I'm hearing from people that I know personally that have some pretty good sources that there's a whole lot more to it than this. And I'm not going to get into that on this show other than to tell you it is a disgrace what's happening right now in college basketball. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry that they've done this to the sport. And football, the same thing, honestly. I mean, people are leaving, like Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, that whole debacle. The team is competing in the college football playoffs. Why don't you make it where they can make those decisions after the season is over fully if they're in the playoffs? Like, there's got to be something, some common sense. Some adults need to step in the room and say, hey, enough's enough.
I can't argue with any of that. I'm not sure that I have anything to offer. I mean, fans are going to show up when the team puts a product on the field worth seeing, I think, in any sport. And the way things cost today, which we've talked about in a previous episode, I mean, why am I coming if you suck? I mean, I'm not going to come spend $15 for a beer and $15 for a sandwich to watch you suck. So it's just not an enjoyable experience. So, put a good product on the field, we'll show up. It's really not that difficult. So, anyways, let's keep the train moving. Getting local. North Carolina, the Carolina Panthers. What a heartbreak, but I think that it's a really positive way to end the season. I have kind of piled on a little bit the last couple of episodes talking about the Panthers, especially the way they backed into the playoffs. But, man, that game was amazing to watch. They fought their tails off. They gave up the lead with 38 seconds left. It took a hell of a catch, a hell of a throw for the Rams to take the lead. It was just an incredible play, just gutsy play all the way around. I think those guys walk off the field holding their heads high, and hopefully they bring all the key players back next year, and they finally have something to build on. Finally a home playoff game. Heck, finally a playoff game. They got a banner to raise. Who cares how they got there? Now let's add some key pieces and keep the thing moving in the right direction. What do you think?
I think we have one of the best GMs in Dan Morgan we could ask for. That guy's just a dude. He is a dude who gets it done. And he knows what he wanted to build here. He had a clear plan, a clear vision. Dave Canales, while his play calling sometimes makes me scratch my head, I think the guy is a great leader. I think he truly cares about his players. I think he cares about the Carolina Panthers. What I saw out of the Panthers was fight, grit, intensity, and they're there. They're there. They can battle with anybody. They're not that far off. A couple, like you said, a couple key pieces here or there, they're going to be just fine. But I think what they've done this year is instilled a winning mentality, a grit, a fighter's attitude within that team. But I also, like I said, I think there needs to be some changes as it pertains to a few more weapons. With Bryce Young, I think the play calling needs to cater to him getting out of the pocket. If he's rolling out, he can see. He can see over the line. There's no line there to block him. His view. The guy's short, right? Let's be honest. You can't leave him back. You cannot leave him back in a drop back position in the pocket. In my opinion, I think he's got to be on the move. He's got to be rolling out. You got to get him a little bit of space so he can see the field. And when he does see it, he finds his targets. I mean, they played incredibly well. I love the Carolina Panthers. I mean, I'm always in Panthers gear, but I've been this way for the last several years. So if anybody calls me a fair weather fan, they are barking up the wrong tree. That is for sure. But no, I'm really proud.
You're an all-weather fan, brother.
I am, dude. I've been through the bad times with them, but I love what I'm seeing. It feels good to be competitive. It feels good to win the division, like you said, to have a home playoff game, just electric atmosphere. 75,000 people came to Bank of America Stadium last Saturday and absolutely rocked the house. And I hate that we couldn't bring home the W, but nonetheless, it was a great season.
Well, keep pounding, and we'll be back before you know it. I'm already looking forward to next season. So, all right, it's a couple more steps to go here. Final walkthrough. When do you put away your Christmas decorations?
Well, it's if I put them out in the first place. No, I'm kidding. I actually got a lot of grief. A friend of mine, I moved houses December 15th, and so when I was moving. The house I had before I moved into the new one, I did not put a tree up. And my friend was like, why? You have an 8-year-old kid. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need to have a tree. Don't do that to that boy. And I'm like, I started feeling bad. Like, I mean, Luke didn't care. We were going to have one when we moved. But I immediately put it up, and then I had to take it down and put it back up again. But I'll tell you, the second time around, I got off easy. Luke and my mom have a tradition of putting up the Christmas tree together. And so she's like, do not touch that Christmas tree until I come down there because I want to do it with Luke. Well, what that means is she ends up doing all the work. Luke just looks at it every once in a while and, oh, great, Memo, well done, whatever. But no, you know what? I'm not a big decorator for Christmas. It's a lot of work to put it in and out. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a Scrooge. I don't know. Bah humbug or something.
Well, we usually put our stuff up Thanksgiving Day. We usually go get our tree either the day before or the day of, if the farmer's market is open, and we'll put it up. And we took our stuff down this weekend. So I read this past week that Elvis always made it a point to take down his decorations on January 8th because that was his birthday. So maybe we start going with Elvis's birthday every year and using that. A lot of people wait to the end of the Epiphany season to take it down because they say that's really when the Christmas season ends. I like to leave the stuff up. It keeps me in the mood. So I think do what makes you feel right. Don't let anybody tell you when to put them up or when to take them down. Do your thing, except, maybe turn your lights off after January if you don't take them down.
There are some HOAs that make you take stuff down at a certain time. I'd be one of those people. I'd leave it up all year just to mess with them.
You got it. We can have a whole conversation about HOAs. All right, let's move on.
Let's not.
It's closing time. What are you looking at over the next week? What's your top story to pay attention to? So which of these three? We got the college football championship. We got our first really big economic reports coming out in January, and stuff going on with tech, AI. We've got potential crypto bill coming out from Congress. Which story's at the top of your list to pay the most attention to that you think is going to make the most headwaves?
I mean, the biggest impact that for not only business, for people's personal lives is going to be obviously the January economic and market news, which is going to be beautiful. It's going to look great. Wait till you see these numbers, folks. Wait till you see these numbers. They're incredible. There is zero reason why interest rates shouldn't be being reduced right now on the federal level, period. And I know that doesn't directly impact mortgage rates, but watch how it impacts mortgage rates. Watch. The data is beautiful. Things are on track. And I'll tell you something else. The Supreme Court needs to do the right thing. These tariffs are a wonderful idea. And guess what? They will be the precursor to leading us to potentially no income tax taking out of our checks. Can you imagine that? All the things we can do with this tariff money as a nation to give back to the people, where our government has been taking our tax money and spending it on whatever the heck they want to do, all the fraud, waste, and abuse. How about these tariffs being a great idea? The Supreme Court needs to do the right thing for the right reason for our country. That's the biggest story on my table.
We should hear about that this week, right? I know they were supposed to rule earlier in the week, and they haven't yet. They kind of pushed it back. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. I mean, raise your hand if you're for no income tax. I mean, how can you argue with that right here? We've talked about different ways to tax before, so I think that's really the top of my list too. We've talked about some of the other ones, but I'm interested to see how that plays out because that then gives us a runway for what's next. So it'll definitely be interesting. The numbers from December were great. So I'm hoping that the report that comes out in January is similar to that, and I don't think there's really any reason to believe that they won't be. So I got my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping to be optimistic, and I'm looking for good news because good news is good for everybody, right?
Doug, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm in thoughtful prayer, and I mean this thoughtful prayer about these tariffs. I pray that the right thing happens. If not, it's completely counterproductive, and we'll know a lot about our country and where we stand with that ruling. I'm telling you, that is a huge issue.
I think that you're right, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens and what direction we can go in, regardless of what ends up being ruled. But that's it for today. I know you got places to go, people to see. I do too. Want to shout out a big thank you to our presenting sponsor, New Leaf Home Inspections. They're North Carolina's most trusted home inspector. Want to encourage everybody, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Heck, show it or share it so other people can experience the closing table with us. And we'll see you next time. Pull up a chair. It's the closing table. Ben, I'll see you next time, brother.
Yeah, same to you, Doug. Have a great week, man.